Welcome to Paris Good Food and Wine. I'm Paige Donner, the host and producer. This food and wine show is being brought to you directly from Paris, France. Here, we give you a taste of this delicious world with all its colorful and diverse personalities that make up the Paris culinary landscape. So, sit back and relax and enjoy Paris Good Food and Wine. This month, we're celebrating St. Valentine's here in the city of love and light. Valentine's Day, or Saint Valentin, as they say in French, is observed here in France, though not to the degree that it is in the U.S., at least insofar as the commercial marketing aspect of the holiday. Because anyway, Paris is a city filled with such romance that every day feels like Valentine's Day here. So for this February Paris Good Food and Wine show, we're bringing you first-person interviews with two of the city's scions from its culinary top shelf. First up, we hear from Armand Petrossian. If the name Petrossian rings a bell, it's because you're likely familiar with the world's best-known quality caviar. Over the last century, Petrossian has become synonymous with caviar, and understandably so. With a global market share unrivaled by any other single brand, Petrossian has maintained the strictest quality control over its caviar throughout the generations.
You know, it's a passion. You cannot do a business like mine without having a passion of the product, a curiosity about the food.
Armand Petrossian is the son and heir to the founder of his family fortune. He discusses with us here the company's history, their philosophy, and gives us some inside tips on sourcing excellent caviar. Next up is our second interview with a family scion, this time with Chef Mathieu Pacaud.
When I make Hexagon, when we find the place, it was very, very big. And I said if we make one restaurant, we'll make something kind of bistro or brasserie. And actually, after L'Ambroisie, I don't want to do that. I want to make something very in the good way, something high quality. And I said, okay, let's try to make two restaurants.
This chef is also heir to an iconic family. Namely, his father is the 3-star Michelin chef of Ambroisie here in Paris. But that hasn't stopped this young 30-something from boldly and unabashedly earning his own stripes. In the past couple of years, he opened 3 restaurants in Paris. Hexagon, now a 1 Michelin star restaurant, L'Histoires, now a 2 Michelin star restaurant and one of Paris's most romantic dining experiences, and most recently, he took on the mantle of Le Divellec, for generations the most famous fish restaurant here in Paris, now completely renovated and reimagined by Chef Pacaud. So sit back and get ready to be thoroughly charmed and enchanted by our 2 Parisian scions of great families from France's culinary world. Thank you for listening to Paris Good Food and Wine. Paris Good Food and Wine is brought to you by parisfoodandwine.net. You can like our Facebook page at Facebook/Paris Food and Wine. Oh, there can never be too much caviar. So, Mr. Armand Petrossian, your name, your family name Petrossian, is synonymous with caviar and with caviar of the highest quality. So I'm really not exaggerating when I use the term you are the caviar king of the world. Can you just break down in some numbers the percentage of the market that you have globally for caviar?
Yes, we are representing approximately 15 to 20%, depending on the year, of the global worldwide market for caviar.
And according to my research, your company is doing about 40 million euros a year in revenue, and about 40% of that is actually attributable directly to caviar, and now you've branched out into a lot of different products as well, like vodka and things like that.
Oh yes, we are after global turnover consolidated. That means no inside sales are taken into consideration. Is 40 million and above. And mainly it's caviar but also salmon, because salmon is part of our company. We have a smokery since 1930, so we are one of the oldest factory in the smoking. All the curing of the fish, curing of the older eggs from fish. So we have enlarged a lot over years, a lot of new products, products like tea, chocolate, vodka, jams, oil, vinegars, and pastry, and bakery, and a lot of other things.
You know, and it's so delightful. We're sitting here as we're doing this interview on the La Tour Maubourg in Paris, and which is at the cross-section of Rue de l'Université, at your iconic restaurant, which is upstairs from your boutique. And walking in downstairs, you know, you pass all those lovely, the glass cases full of caviar and all these wonderful delectables that you've just mentioned, including, I was going to allude to this towards the end, but it's come up now, this new product that you have, which is caviar butter. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about your new product in time for the holidays?
Oh, well, this new product is an idea because we had made several products declining the caviar, like the caviar powder. We call it fleur de caviar. We made caviar cubes. We made fleur de papyrus. And then was missing something to put on the small toast for the cocktails. So I created this caviar butter, having in mind that I don't want to look like other things that are present on the market. I wanted to have an exclusive product with 35% of caviar in it, very pure, without any additive. There is only composition of the butter is butter and caviar, nothing else. And we made also a truffle butter, just to make a small change for the different toast. So, and the same, we put a lot of truffles, no aroma, nothing chemical there. So really the idea was to create a product that would be without any addition, something very pure in taste. And when you taste it, you can feel it immediately.
You know, I had the privilege of tasting it a month or so ago at your reception, and it's absolutely delicious. It's absolutely delicious. I have to give my kudos to that. You know, we're going to get into your very colorful family history and how you are a second generation, you know, son of an immigrant and who has carried this family business forward. But before we get into that, which is a fascinating story, I wanted to actually ask you to speak to a bit of how the market has changed from wild farming esturgeon to now cultivated esturgeon, and how you have, to a large part, single-handedly, you know, changed the market in that respect, and how this is also good for our fish farming practices and the fishery practices around the world.
Yeah, it was a complete change that started. In fact, the story started with the breakage of Soviet Union in 1989. But in fact, it was 92 by the time all that happened. And what happened at that time is that the one country was Russia, Soviet Union, and the other country of the Caspian Sea was Iran. So there was only two countries directing the fisheries. Then it was 5 countries. It was Azerbaijan on top, plus Kazakhstan, plus Turkmenistan, Russia, and Iran. So it was 5 countries. And that's what created already a complicated story. Then, with the breakage of the Soviet Union, what happened is a very big overfishing, explained by 2 reasons. One, because it was the attract of the defended fruit. That is translation of French. I don't know. L'attrait du fruit défendu. I'm not sure that the translation is good. So when you cannot have some access to something. When it's liberated, you want to have it. So
I know the forbidden fruit.
Forbidden fruit. Sorry. So you have the attract of the forbidden fruit. And that was interesting that a lot of people started to fish the sturgeon for their own pleasure, because at the Soviet time it was 30 years of prison if you were caught into taking a sturgeon without the permits. So, and that created an overfishing and an overconsumption. Then the price dropped and the product become less and less good. The quality was worse by the time, not good. And because of that, you see the quality, the price, and the overfishing. All that elements were present to have a catastrophe in the Caspian Sea. Then in 1997, in the conference of RRA, there was a conference of the CITES, which is the Convention for the Protection of the Plants and Animals in the worldwide. This convention took, in fact, the decision to protect the sturgeon. And from that time, it was a succession of rules and decision. And I was part of this decision because I am directing an NGO that has for aim to protect the sturgeon and to help the trade and the regulation of the sturgeon. So I was part of the working group in the CITES from that period in 1998. And little by little, the smuggled caviar has been under control. I'm not saying that 100%, but a big part of it. And there was a time where there was, in fact, a moment where you can feel that it was not going the right way. So at that time, I decided to look and to see what farms were some farms were starting to do the farming of sturgeon, but for the meat, not for the caviar. So I started to discuss with them and to see how it would be interesting to produce the caviar, and in the United States and some in France, and we started to do some sampling and to see how it is. And we started, and I was one of in fact, the first one in France to offer the French caviar and American caviar on our price list. And from there, then we worked a lot with the farms, different worldwide farms, in order to ask them to do the quality we wanted. And that was a big, something very interesting to do, because we had to apply to the farm caviar the same methods of selection, of aging, of well, I say sublimation. I don't know if it's very English, but to sublimate the caviar, I think that's better. To sublimate the caviar. In fact, the idea is with all these techniques that we have, is to take to develop the aromas that are present in the caviar, but need timing and supervision in order to develop. And that's our main business, is to take raw material and then from the farms, and then to apply our method in order to develop these aromas. And still to get a very complex caviar from this farm. So this was a whole work that took me a lot of time, because we had to reconstruct the whole history of caviar and the whole spirit of caviar, based not on wild, but based on farm.
That's fascinating. And the fact that you headed up an NGO, a nonprofit organization that was, overseeing the regulation of the fisheries, even demonstrates even more how concerned you were about the fisheries of the global fisheries as an issue, and the conservation. And I know that now, as you alluded to, you have farms in France and in America, and also I think in Russia and.
Well, the farms exist everywhere, so we are buying from all the farms that's existing. So, in fact, there is a whole process to select the farms, to approve the farms, they have a guideline to follow. So it's a whole process of agreeing, to agree or not to agree the farm, to select and to agree the farm. I'm not sure about the word, but to approve the farm, let's say. So there is a whole process to approve a farm, and there is a chart that they have to follow up in order to be selected. And in this chart, everything is taken into consideration. It means what is important in the farm is the number of fish in the tanks, what is the water, what is the food, how they do the first caviar, the raw material, what kind of salt they are using. So the whole process of raising the fish to the time they are producing the raw material of caviar, all that is controlled. Plus, then we are looking for the species, because don't forget there is several species of sturgeon in the world, wild species, but in farming there is basically 6 species that are found today. So to see on each of these species where and how they are producing the best one. And our aim is to go everywhere in the world, and we go to visit whatever farm is constructed. We go to visit, and we pay them a visit systematically. We go to visit all farms, and then we select the one that we find are following what we want. And all this work, all this knowledge about how the farming is done, where, how, temperature, fish, species, all that is creating a story by itself on caviar.
True, and according to my research, I saw that the numbers for actually raw sturgeon or wild, like caviar cultivated from the wild sturgeon or collected from the wild sturgeon, has dropped to basically 0%. There really is no.
In fact, there is none. Today there is no caviar from wild. For one good reason, there is no quota. And the quota is delivered by the CITES, this convention of Washington Convention, and there is no quota since 2008. So the story is very short. There is no caviar from wild.
Yeah, which I think that may come as a surprise to a lot of people. So, fascinating.
Thank you for listening to Paris Good Food and Wine. I'm your host, Paige Donner.
Let's turn now to your family history, because as you've pointed out to me in our conversations, this is a family business. It remains a family business, and it will continue to be a family business because you now have a couple of sons who are carrying on the line, one who's actually based in New York, if I'm not mistaken. But let's start with your uncle and your father, who were actually first generation. They were immigrants to France in, 1915, 1920?
Yes. My father and uncle came to France in they went out from the Russian Empire at that time, because Armenia and Caucasus generally was part of the Russian Empire. They went out from then with the Armenian Holocaust, and they came into Europe, not directly, because at that time it was not so easy, but they came in France because they were speaking the French language, because in Russia all the bourgeoisie, all the people who has a little education were speaking French. So it was easy for them to come in France, and they knew the culture. They had a very strong relation with France in general. So they came in France and they established in France. So they were the first generation, and there is a big difference in age, because my father, in fact, was born in 1894. So he was very old already when I came by accident. So, the war, after the war, it was the baby boom, and I am part of the baby boom. So I'm very proud of it. So, and then I married myself and my sons. I have 2 sons, 35 and 37, and they started to work with me already a long time ago. and they are following up today the spirit and the philosophy of the company, and also they are completely with my ideas of how to direct the business, the innovation, the running of the quality, the big difference between our company and a lot of others. We are not a financial group that bought an old trademark and made a very nice story à l'eau de rose, as we say in French. So now we are in the true story, and what we are saying is exactly true. We started a very long time ago in 1920. Plus, my mother family, and that's another history. My mother family was originating from Baku, and had the fishery from 1815 to 1915. So, with 200 years of history, our family in the caviar business, what do you think I should do?
I was wondering about that, Mr. Petrossian. Was there ever a question in your mind? Was there ever a question when you were, 20, 40 years ago, when you were deciding your life's path? Did you ever question whether you'd go into the caviar business?
No, I never, even when I was 10 years old, I never dreamed to be a policeman or a fireman. So I had always the idea to be with my father in this company. First of all, I'm born in the house just next to here. So, and I was practically every day in the shop. And, it's part of the life from my very beginning of age to now. So it's not only it's a passion. You cannot do a business like mine without having a passion of the product, a curiosity about the food. Anything that can be eaten is interesting for me, or drink. So it's really an idea of it's a curiosity. It's like to look after a piece of art, and for me it's a piece of taste. So it's the same idea.
That's fascinating. It's really in your DNA, as we would say, huh? Yeah. Now, just to recap, you have a global business in more ways than one. But in terms of your boutiques and your outlets, can you just kind of name off some of the places here in Paris where we can find Petrossian caviar and your other delectable gourmet items, and then also maybe if you could name just a couple of the locations in the United States and also in other parts of Europe.
Yes, our main place for the historical building is here in 18 Boulevard La Tour-Maubourg, in the 7th quarter of Paris. We opened a few years ago another boutique, Boulevard de Courcelles, 106 Boulevard de Courcelles, and it's the 17th quarter of Paris. We have also a place, a big corner that is in the drugstore Publicis, Champs-Élysées. And we have also in the Lafayette Gourmet, also a place for a restaurant and shop there. We have a place in Lyon, we have a place in Brussels. So that's for Europe, the main places. But also we are a lot in the United States, with three main places, 7th Avenue and 58th Street. We have a restaurant. Next to it, 911 7th Avenue, we have a shop and cafe. And we have LA. We are in LA, in North Boston Boulevard, at the corner of Senegal. We have a restaurant and a shop. Plus, we are in Lex Airport, the Los Angeles Airport. We are in the Bellagio at Las Vegas. I certainly forgot some places.
Those are already so prestigious. I mean, New York, and then Las Vegas, Bellagio, Los Angeles, La Cienega, and North Robertson, Los Angeles International Airport, and then 2 locations right on 7th Avenue in New York, 7th Avenue and 58th Street. So, and then of course those wonderful locations here in Paris. So Publicis Drugstore, this wonderful location on La Tour Maubourg and Rue de l'Université, which is your flagship, and Galerie Lafayette Gourmet, and then the wonderful boutique, Rue de Courcelles, which is as you said in the 17th arrondissement, but in fact it's just a stone's throw from the Arc de Triomphe.
Yes,
so
it's very close. The 106 Boulevard de Courcelles is at the corner of Boulevard de Courcelles and Rue de Courcelles. It's not interesting. We have Rue and Boulevard de Courcelles. So, and we are very near in fact, the Place des Ternes, and very close to the Champs-Élysées and Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing that I remember when I visited that location earlier this year is that you can actually, it's a boutique, but you can go there and you can order a coffee and even like some caviar toast, and so it's nice. It's a nice blend between a boutique and kind of a relaxed cafe.
Absolutely, we have there a place you can have a drink, but you can also have a meal. Any time of the day, so it's open every day, all the time of the day. You can have a cup of coffee, a tea, pastry, whatever you like, a sandwich. So it's like a place you come to stay, to rest, to discuss with your friends. So it's a very agreeable place. Plus, we have a very nice terrace, so on the boulevard. So it's very interesting.
It is. It's a beautiful. All your locations are lovely, Mr. Petrossian. I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to speak to us today, to speak to me, and to be on the program, Paris Good Food and Wine.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Paris Good Food and Wine. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. Now up, we'll be hearing an interview I did with Chef Mathieu Pacaud on a late winter morning before the rush of the lunch crowd arrived at Le Divellec in Paris's upscale 7th arrondissement. As we'll go over in the coming interview, you've had quite a number of accolades, and Divellec, where we're sitting right now, is your newest one. So, Mathieu Pacaud, chef, you're credited with bringing a fresh, new approach to French cuisine. Yet much of your training was under a 3-star Michelin chef. So what is your new take? What's your fresh approach to traditional French cuisine?
Okay, so, I was born with 3 Michelin stars. So all my life, I know that at L'Ambroisie, something very classic restaurants. And when I opened Hexagon, I see something. In all the restaurants where you go now, in all the 3 Michelin stars, the people try to make something very simple. So they don't use the correct term or the correct technique for explain to the clients. So, and we forget what is the traditional French cuisine. So in Hexagon, I opened this restaurant last year. My idea is to put in a very modern way the classic French cuisine that we learned with Escoffier 1 century before. So we make something, I don't know in English, but it's Deleuzien, the philosopher Deleuze. You make something, you build and you destroy. And you try to rebuild differently. So when you see the dish in Hexagon, if you don't know the term, so you will learn a term, a traditional French term of the French cuisine. But if you don't know the term or the technique, when you hit, it will remember you something. He said, I see that somewhere. But in the presentation, in the way how to cook, is totally different. So you cannot recognize, but you know something. You see that before somewhere.
Primarily through the taste, then. It's like through the taste is how you're reinterpreting, not so much through the visuals, but the taste, you're reinterpreting French cuisine.
Yeah, but before, when we see the French cuisine before with Escoffier, it was 1 century before. So this is the French cuisine. We begin to write the French cuisine. Before that, you have some books, but not too much. But Escoffier write all the recipe and with exact term. And the way how they cook before, every product was very cooked because you don't have the cold. You cannot have something cold or something fresh. If you want some oyster, you have to take your oyster from Brittany or Normandy, and after you take a horse and bring your oyster in Paris. So we said you can eat oyster only in the Breu month, so September, November, December, because it's cold during the way, because it's a winter season. So you can eat your oyster, and all the fish are very cooked, and all the meat were very cooked because we want to kill the microbe. And it was fun because cuisine have a nice evolution, and everybody, the departure is Escoffier. We begin with Escoffier, and all the chefs after that, they try everybody use Escoffier until now in all the French restaurants to make something. And me, what I want to do is just to use the correct term, to give a taste simple and not simple, with a real structure of the taste and a real presentation, something very modern. Because now you have the art and the way, and it's difficult to put the two together.
Chef, that's really fascinating. It's so great to hear it in your own words. And what kept coming to mind was these great artists. I know really very little about art history, but of course, being in France, you're surrounded by these great artists. And when you look at that jump from, in like the Second Empire, to the new Impressionists, how they took apart everything to rebuild it in their own vision, that's what your words are making me think of. Anyway, it's fascinating. Thank you so much. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit too about, here we are at Divellec, your newest, and it's a fish restaurant, and it's an icon. It's one of the legends of Paris in terms of restaurants. But I want to talk a little bit about L'Histoire and your 2 Michelin star restaurant that you got the 2 stars in one fell swoop last year. And, that restaurant is inside Hexagon, which you also got a Michelin star for. Now, I'd love to hear in your own words, because people may not grasp right away the concept of that. It's one restaurant inside of another restaurant. By the way, I love hexagon because it refers, of course, to France, being, as the French call it, a hexagon, the shape of the country. But tell us in your own words, is it the same dining experience going to L'Histoire and Hexagon, or are they completely different dining experiences?
The price is not the same, but it's totally different. Because when I make Hexagon, when we find the place, it was very, very big. And I said, if we make one restaurant, we'll make something, a kind of bistro or brasserie. And actually, after L'Ambroisie, I don't want to do that. I want to make something very in the good way, something high quality. And I said, okay, let's try to make 2 restaurants. So it was a very very hard bet. I don't know in English because okay, we make a bet. So I said, okay, we try to make 1 3 Michelin star and 1 2 Michelin stars. So this is where we want to go. And I don't know when I do that if Michelin can make two restaurants in the 2. If you can separate two restaurants inside one. So it was a very big bet. And so I make 2 kitchens. And Hexagon, it was very simple to do because I know the French cuisine very well because I grew up in a traditional way. And it was very difficult because actually it's totally different. The experience in Histoire is, for me, the ultimate experience in a 3 Michelin, in a Michelin star restaurant, because you only have 6 tables. Because what I look if you want to make some very, very good quality, it's difficult to make for more than 20%. So I don't want to have more than 6 tables. So you come inside a restaurant with only 6 tables. And I want to for me now, when you go to a gastronomic restaurant, it's boring. You come, it's okay, it's beautiful, you have a gold, everything. The service is very classic and traditional.
Yeah, we say very white glove, right?
Yeah. Okay, it's a bit like that. And I want to make Histoire like a theater. You come with someone, actually it's a romantic restaurant, it's better if you are two. And the door, when you go inside, when you pass the door, you don't know where you are. You enter in a totally different world. It's a new world. So it's fun because all the people, when they go in store, you have a hidden door, you have to pass the door, and you have a piano on the right, and you have some crazy duck in front of you. After you have this kind of alcove, you don't see the other person, so it's the first experience is unique. And after you see it, you have a lot of things who are coming before you order something. So something about generosity, and it's everything. It's about in Histoire. It's about sensation. It's an history. So you have the beginning, what happened in the middle, the end. So everything in Histoire. When you go in a restaurant in Paris, it's depending of your taste, but it's always the same. In Histoire, we make something very different. So you are not in a restaurant, you are in a theater. So you live a story. So this is what I want in Histoire. And the level of the cuisine is the highest of what I can do now. For me, it's we are at the top. And we can do that because we only have 6 tables. But in the way where we cook the fish, the meat, and the way that we make the presentation of all the dish, we take a lot of time. Everything is different. So Histoire is unique. And you know, you have something very cool in France. It's always about the price. People, they always find is always too expensive. You can be a billionaire. It's always too expensive. It's question of, this is the French people. We are not generous. So it's always expensive. So in Hexagon, for me, Hexagon is cheap, but it's expensive. And in Histoire is more expensive than Hexagon, but nobody said it's expensive. So, and it's expensive actually. But nobody said, because the experience that you have when you leave, you are just happy and you say, okay, you will keep a memory of a dinner or lunch at Histoire. And we make 2 Michelin stars in 3 months, and it's a restaurant. We are always in progression. So we never said, okay, now it's good. We are at the top. I always want to change, to change a little thing every day. We change something, and you have something at the end totally different. So you can come in 1 year, it will not be the same restaurant. So Histoire, it's a kind of baby. We open a lot of restaurants every year now. I make 1 or 2 restaurants every year, and we will open Hexagon in London. We open L'Ambroisie in Macao. Maybe I will make a new Divellec. It's easy, but Histoire, you cannot open another Histoire. It's impossible because it's too difficult. Because I give the best of myself inside. So look at me. When you look Histoire, you say, okay, it's the same. Something you can love it or you can hate it, but you cannot be in the middle. Same with me.
Oh, everybody loves you, Chef. Yeah. I'm glad too that you, with all that fabulous explanation, that it's really a theatrical experience. And you also, I wanted to just highlight, underscore that there are 2 separate kitchens actually in that. So, yeah. Okay. So now let's come to Divellec, which your newest baby. And, for decades, when Chef Divellec was here, he was called the the Bocuse of seafood. So you have taken upon your shoulders, your young shoulders. I don't think you're even 40 yet, right? Or not? Yeah.
When you look at me, I'm 29, but in the reality, I'm 35. But the cream is good in France for the face.
Thank you for listening to Paris Good Food and Wine. Paris Good Food and Wine is brought to you by parisfoodandwine.net. You can like our Facebook page at Facebook/Paris Food and Wine.
So, you've taken on your shoulders quite a lot of responsibilities and successful endeavors. So Divellec is your latest one. And, just for people who have known this restaurant throughout the ages, what can we expect when we come here? Are there items on the menu that you kept, or have you, in Chef Pacaud fashion, have you reimagined everything?
No, actually, Divellec was in a French institution of fish, and but like all the institution, it never change. So it's something before we buy the Divellec was something of another I don't know in English, but another period. And when we buy that place, I want to make a fish restaurant. And when I know a Divellec is for sale, I say okay, I buy. So we buy a Divellec with some friends. And we want to make something it's always the same, It's always about experience. Because when you make a restaurant, you have to think about what is the experience that the customer can accept if he come in our place. And in Le Divellec, we want something very chic decoration, like Saint Laurent. So we try to find a nice designer. So we take Studio Chaos, who work for Pierre Berger. So we say, okay, it's perfect. So, because everybody knows Pierre Berger was a husband of Saint Laurent. So, he makes something very fresh during the day and very, I don't know, the night is another atmosphere. So, you have two atmospheres at the Divellec with the same decoration. So, it's very good. And so, we make something very chic. And actually, now it's more bigger than before because we opened a new place inside the restaurant, so I have 200 square meters more than before. And Divellec is a fish restaurant, so I want to make a fish restaurant, so it was good for me actually. And when you buy something like that, you have a name, so everybody knows the Divellec. And people say, okay, it's closed for so long time. So everybody thinks that Divellec is closed for 10 years, but it's only 2 years because we make all the, I don't know in English, the renovation. And what I want to do, my concept is, I want people share. Because, alors, you are in France. So in France, French people don't like to share. It's like that because we are a little bit egoist. But this is a French way, and but me, I want the people share, and I see the young people, the new generation, they want to share. They want to taste some more taste of food, so you can share what you want, you can share some dish, and you can be egoist and just keep for yourself. But in the way that we think the restaurant, you can share. And the old person, they don't want to share, so. It's not
obligation.
It's true for all the old people, but it's what I see. And because I think now an experience in a restaurant is not just the food is not enough. The food is not enough because you have a lot of place. You can eat very well. When you go in all those Michelin stars, you eat very well. But what I see, my generation, for us, it's boring because sometimes if you speak at the restaurant, everybody look at you while I speak. So I don't want that. Me, I want people have it's the same concept as Hexagon. Say, come, be yourself, smile, love, speak, sing if you want. Come with tennis, a t-shirt, and just enjoy. So we make a food like that, something very, very nice, but in the high quality. So for me, Divellec, the food is the food that you can find in those 3 Michelin star restaurants, but the atmosphere, it's an atmosphere of what you can find in the funny place. So we want to do that because when you buy an institution, what you have to think, it was an institution, but how you became an institution, how you can become an institution, this is the way that I think. because you was in a situation. Okay, it's good, but it's over. Okay, everybody forget to have some souvenir of you, of what they accept. But me, I want the people. Okay, I want everybody said, okay, this is one place in Paris. You have to go. It's the Divellec. So we try to work in that way for all the restaurants. If you want to eat fish, for me now you have to come at the Divellec, because we try. Actually, it's a new restaurant, so it's just open for 3 months. So we have a lot of change for the first year. So the level is always in progression. So, but progression is good. And but if you want to eat fish, you have to come to Divellec. If you want to eat the French cuisine, you have to come to Hexagon. If you want to have an experience, go to L'Histoire. If you want to see something from the past, go to L'Ambroisie. We think all the restaurants like that. I don't know if it's very clear, because I'm just sorry about my English, but I'm French. I don't want to learn English. But
You're for someone who says he doesn't speak English, your English is fabulous and so much better than my French. So number one, thank you so much for expressing yourself so well. And it's absolutely casual chic here. And I think a lot of people, like you're saying, you're talking about your own generation. So the 30-somethings, that reaches up to, up and down by several, decades. You can go both ways for, I think, the people that you're really speaking to and inviting, like you said, to have an experience. It's a culinary experience. So, all right. So now we have a little bit more of a handle on what your approach is. I just want to thank you so very much, Chef, for your time today.
Thank you so much, and see you in the new place.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Paris Good Food and Wine. A big thank you to all who helped make this show possible, and especially a grand merci beaucoup from me, your host and producer, Paige Donner. You can find this and past episodes of Paris Good Food and Wine on iTunes. And remember to follow us on Twitter at Paris Food Wine and like us on Facebook at Paris Food and Wine.